A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Video Games That Are Totally Awesome. So even though we're starting off a fresh new week worth of stuff, you know what? I figured that after this whole week, we'll pretty much just call it. And well, simply put, what I will put together here are a few extras. I might as well start off with a kind of bonus. If you remember, throughout all of last week, I talked about the FNAF games. FNAF Parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and Sister Location, which added up to 5 episodes worth of video games that are totally awesome in total. Well, there is one other that I might as well talk about, since I actually had the chance to play it pretty recently. And since a lot of materials are still fresh in my mind, we might as well get this one on the list just as well. Even though I did say I will talk more about FNAF later, Ultimate Custom Night, which is also a thing that the FNAF universe has, not to mention while it's more of a spin-off or just some wild fun scheme that allows for us to make whatever kind of FNAF scenario that we desire with all the characters in mind from 2014 to 2018. This was a big point in which that a lot of us were able to get whatever FNAF mixture that we ever so wanted to do. Like if we wanted to put ourselves in Evan Afton's bedroom with the toy animatronics, or perhaps in the Fazbear Fright security room with many of the different animatronics that are non-Phantom related, which could thereby make the game even harder than it is with Springtrap as our main bad guy, well, Ultimate Custom Night does fill in that sort of blank. While there are a lot of other things I might as well talk about regarding Ultimate Custom Night, like we could talk about the whole menagerie of characters involved. And there's a lot of them, and much more than that too. To start things off, we do have ourselves the original FNAF group with Freddy Fazbear, Chica, Foxy, and Bonnie, along with Golden Freddy. Then we have the toy animatronics, plus the other characters from the second game, the Phantom animatronics, the Nightmare animatronics, and of course, the Sister Location animatronics. There are also some additions that have been put together from all the different titles that we've gotten up until that point in 2018. And while there's also a good host of different games just as well that have come out since the release of Sister Location, there was Pizzeria Simulator, FNAF World, and there was even some media that had come around by 2018 as well, some of which had been put together on YouTube and even by other creators. So it's safe to say that FNAF had expanded to many different varieties in terms of media and in terms of how it was all put together. For Ultimate Custom Night though, I will say that with the customization parts all put together, with the inclusion of different materials, different animatronics that you can add into your night experience, to bump up the difficulty if you wanted to do so, or to just get all crazy and start spamming the crap out of the screen with all sorts of weird objects and stuff. That's the kind of unique flair that we tend to get out of Ultimate Custom Night entirely. The fact that we're able to have a FNAF game that allows us to get as crazy as we wanna, it really is something that has more than pleased the fans. And I myself am more than captivated by the loads of ideas that I can situate. Although, if there's one big thing about Ultimate Custom Night that truly makes it stand out from the rest, it's the dialogue. Yeah, you don't exactly get dialogue much in the rest of the FNAF games entirely. Sister Location had expanded upon the likes of a special AI thing known as Hand Unit, plus the addition of Circus Baby and a few others here and there. But with Ultimate Custom Night, the animatronics have their own voice signatures. They have their own lines that were put together by lots of fans over the years. No joke. The fans got to have the chance to be in a FNAF game for the first time. And Ultimate Custom Night was one heck of a bargain to put together here. I'm not just talking about that because of the price tag. No, man. It's only $8 on the PlayStation Store, $3 on mobile. So Ultimate Custom Night, with all the craziness you can piece together in one FNAF game, it's a rather cheap thing to own in your collection. So, talk about quite a deal that we have here. Comparatively, with the PlayStation collection of the FNAF games with 1, 2, 3, 4, and sister location, I basically spent about $25, meaning $5 a game, but even though we got $8 for the likes of Ultimate Custom Night, it's probably arguable that given all the stuff you can piece together in Ultimate Custom Night, all the customization features and all the things you can put together, it'll take up a good amount of time. And I'm more than confident that I could get way better time for the money that I paid for. But like I said, the voice acting is the true strength of Ultimate Custom Night. What I simply mean by that is you could take a good gander or listen to all the different voices of the different characters. The original animatronics, Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy, have their own vocals, which is something that we hadn't seen or heard from very much in the franchise. And that's just knowing the fact that, sure, the characters don't really speak, verbally speaking. But that's mostly because of the fact that perhaps there was the problems going on with Freddy Fazbear's at the time, and the loads of issues that concerned with the likes of William Afton and the many children that he had murdered, including his own sister and his daughter. But if I'm be real with you, based on the vocals that are put together in Ultimate Custom Night, you could basically spend a good 40 minutes listening to all of the different vocal notes that are put together. All the voice samples that all of the fans of FNAF had recorded for the game. And they sure were able to put in a lot of audio customization on the vocals just as well. I mean, take a look at that massive reverb that Funtime Foxy has in his voice. Yeah, I might as well mention. It's by this point that Funtime Foxy is treated more like a male character than a female character, and that's why most people refer to him as such. I mean, why was he referred to as a female at the first time we saw him? Who really knows? But I definitely would talk a bit about how they made the Nightmare animatronics so guttural and literal by all senses. They sure were able to execute a lot of intimidation in those vocals, especially with Night Marionette and Nightmare, basically the black version of Freddy. Yeah, not to be confused with Fredbear, of course. At the end of the day, though, Ultimate Custom Night, being that another product of Scott Games and Click Team LLC, were all able to put together, much like how well they were able to accomplish with the other games, they were able to give us the Ultimate Custom Night. And the name is more than just deserving at its finest. So with all that in mind, I feel like I've spoken enough about Ultimate Custom Night. The less said, the better. With all the animatronics put in, with all the stuff you can do, with all the Faz coins you can earn and deposit for a variety of different things you can purchase in the game, depending on how well you do, which is a pretty big win in anybody's book, because it sort of gives us a more RPG sort of aspect to it, where the more coins you get, the more deposits you can put in, and therefore, the more things you can unlock along the way. But for my final scoring of Ultimate Custom Night, with what I've managed to do so far, with only about an hour of gameplay, I'll be sure to give it a good 8.3 out of 10.1. So, kind of ranking it alongside a majority of the other games, but with 6 different FNAF games that we got so far, I probably ought to talk a bit more about the franchise entirely. That's been something that's been lacking for a while. But let's be real, the most important aspect to remember here is if the blackout period in Kaiju Force Neo's history book had never occurred, then I'm sure a lot more involvement with the franchise might have been possible. That's the biggest thing to take away here. Anyways though, this is another piece that I am more than glad I got the chance to talk about while I still could. But 2 more episodes and I'll pretty much be signing off once again. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.